And we are live, perhaps.
Maybe. We'll have to see.
Hey guys.
Welcome, guys. Welcome. Starting with an excellent connection. And let's see, who's going to be the first? Do we have odds on it? Who is going to be the first in chat? Sources say it could be maybe Ray, or maybe it's going to be that KK, or no, it's Dana. Hi, Dana. You're number one.
Hey, Dana. Great to see you here.
Hello, Dana.
There's Robbie. You are first, Dana. Robbie, first runner-up. She's like, I'm first. Awesome. So, guys, I hope everybody is doing well tonight. We got some things we're going to be talking about and putting out some positive frequencies and vibrations.
Yes, we're going to be doing our best to put out those positive vibes and, cover the things that we need to cover, because that's our, that's kind of our specialty, I hear.
Yes, let's do some healing energy tonight. See if the peeps out there can feel that.
Yes, that's always fun when we do that. That's really important to, get that healing energy out there and work with other people and do other things. Miss Rosemary, hello. Paulo Tick, good day. MC, Joe, and EEARTS Collective. Yes, we are a collective.
Indeed.
Absolutely.
Modern Refugee, there he is. He's here. Modern Refugee in the house. Doc Dempsey, Modern Refugee, has a channel. Please go say hi to him. He has so much practical information. Like, somebody who's just getting into this and just learning would do really well to go over to his channel and, learn some things. What I love about him is his practicality, and the things that he chooses to talk about are, they're for, day-to-day troubles and turbulations. And I think, to me, one of my favorite videos he did was when he was talking about what if your partner is not on board with you? I mean, so many of us have that talk.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, absolutely. J-Dog says, we are Borg. Yeah, they're trying to make us all Borg. I am Smart Dust, was watching Deepwater 9, flashed over, haven't seen the program. There's just, it's just, you're up and down. It's up and down. And, today was a busy day for us with energy work and clientele for Vedic astrology, charts, spiritual coaching, and the like. And everybody's going through, boy, just a tough time. What else can we say? It's a tough time. It's challenging. At times, everything feels awesome and great and like, anything is possible. At other times, there's these realizations that set in. And Carter in the house, good to see you. Some of the realizations can be very, very hard to deal with. By the way, we did a Patreon exclusive. It's a tough one, dude. I mean, dude and dudettes, it's a tough one. There's no way around it. It's just, how do you touch on the topic? And this is the topic over here. It's where we're at. It's just where we're at this time. The world is facing difficult changes.
Hi, Tracy. Hi from New Zealand. Great to see you here. The world has gone mad.
I didn't find that I haven't been emotional like that for a while. I mean, getting to that point of frustration and the realization of how we got to this particular point, we were able to bring up some positives, though. I mean, as you read the headlines, it's like, I can't believe even though we knew this was coming, it's still, the frustration is like, okay, let's pull it back and let's raise the vibration and do some positive things to kind of avert, that, negativity.
Well, that's a difficult balance, but we all have to learn it ourselves. If we're tipping too far on the yucky part, we have to make a concentrated effort to go the other way and be more positive. And when, I don't like to get stuck in the negative it's actually physically bad for you. So it's not that I ignore things. No, you cannot ignore them. You have to look at them and face them. But what's the highest possible vibration you can go with them?
Yeah. So, Tracy, did you happen to see that? You're saying hi from New Zealand. Hey, that's awesome.
She's watching the video.
Oh, okay. So she is saying shocking. That's exactly.
yeah.
So, see, it's not just us. Like, we're like, what the heck?
Yeah.
I mean, so it would be a really good one to if you're not tuned into Patreon, that's one that I would definitely suggest going and.
And that's something that makes it so we're all doing this awakening together, so that we're not just one person. We come together and we help each other in this way. But yeah, it was something where you got to do some processing. You can't just ignore it. It's happening. But you got to emotionally process it, and then we get through it together.
Yeah, and it's always a hard decision to talk about that subject. Again, what we're talking about is basically 3/4 of the global population, the possibility that there is not optimal functioning of your immune response, and then exactly what happened. And so, it's a deep dive into Patreon. Again, you could join the Patreon family for as little as $1 a month. It's actually 90 cents when you pay for a year in advance. Each of the tiers does have different benefits. What can we say? I was like almost not going to make the video, but then it's like, well, what if one person still doesn't know whether they should do something related to, that thing, and they're just thinking that there's maybe no dangers with something, and you know what I mean? You just got to give people the facts. As we discover them. And of course, every fact that we come up with is likely to be debunked. Oh, wait a minute. Hey, this is the guy over to the right of me here. Look at this. Energy healing at a distance with Joe Marra 14 years ago. 14 years ago. Energy medicine is a term used for holistic healing therapies that are focusing on manipulating the life force to bring about balance and wellness. Yeah, absolutely. So in this video, the sensing of the life force is something that was maybe 14 years ago, kind of like, wow, that is so cool. And yet nowadays, I think probably a good portion, if not most of you guys out there, can sense the energy. And Cindy will be giving us a ding before we're done. By the way, these are Dr. Joe's channels. Universal Talking has some older videos on it going back 14 and more years, and then his new channel, which is A Guiding Light. So do subscribe to them, as there are unique videos going up over there as well. We wanted to encourage everybody, please do come check out evolutionaryenergyarts.com and check out some of our testimonials. This is literally just a tiny fraction of all the testimonials we got over the years. We actually were hacked into our website. Thankfully, Ellie has restored what she could and upgraded it, as really tons of testimonials were wiped away. But it's just something that I've been up against all my life, and I had my Facebook taken down twice, and I had 1,000 reviews on Facebook, 1,000. And they just shut me down because I was talking up against a allopathic medicine and pushing, alternative. Par for the course, guys. Par for the course. Look at this. Blood moon, March 14th, 2025. Total lunar eclipse where the Earth will cast a reddish shadow on the moon. There's a lot of signs. Oh, the Ides of March, and then we're heading into Aries, and Aries can be a difficult one.
Oh my gosh, this is a manifesting moon on steroids. You guys do not want to miss this manifesting moon. We're still in between the time where a new moon and full moon is, so please write down your wishes. Do not hold back. Just write everything down the way you want to see it. And we're gonna manifest. Maybe I'll even come on this show and manifest with you guys. Speak out loud our manifestations, and we could all maybe do this together or make a video about it. But I've been very excited about this moon. It's been going on for not just hundreds of years, thousands of years, this cycle. And it's at a very unique point where it's very, very strong. And there will be something in our lives that we will all be asked to let go. And there's going to be something in our lives to start anew. And this is where our power lies. Like, what do we want to manifest? So I've been really excited about this for a very long time.
Well, hopefully it's in like a lion and out like a lamb. And hopefully, let's see, today's the 7th. Hopefully the lion's already done and we're heading towards the lamb part of that.
I know. And I was thinking about this manifesting situation and how we are all going to be kind of called to let something go. I was going to do a meditation to connect with higher self, so higher self can decide, what is going to be best for us to let go in our lives. Sometimes it's just certain things are in our lives that they're not helping us, and it's time to just go forward.
Absolutely. So a lot of things that aren't helping us are the warmongers on the planet. And here we have a question being posed. I will play it for y'all. Let's just make sure the volume's turned up.
Mr. President, your envoy Steve Witkoff told us a little while ago that if Hamas does not release hostages, that the U.S. and Israel could take some action. What does that mean in your eyes? Is that military action? Would you join strikes with Israel?
Well, you're going to find out. I had the honor of spending a lot of time yesterday with quite a few of the people that we got out, and I can't believe how badly treated they were, really badly treated. Stories that you wouldn't even believe.
So the first thing he says, you're going to find out. And the question was, will the U.S. attack Gaza together with Israel? And that's Sita barking at deers that are in the front yard as we speak. So, that's something we don't want. We definitely don't want to see any more war. But, this is what I've been getting the whole time, is that the Ukraine situation, and if the U.S. does, basically kind of walk away from any sort of interference over there, it's only because they're going to do something in a different place, and they're hoping that Russia will reciprocate. There's a lot of mixed signals out there. There's a lot of confused people, too. As you see, the health ranger, again, Brighteon founder here, Mike Adams, I'm not sure. Did you ever interview Mike Adams? No. Okay. Here you go. Trump says if Iran doesn't agree to nuclear prohibition deal soon, the U.S. may have to go in militarily. So wait a minute. You're talking going into Gaza militarily and also going into Iran militarily. Hell no. Yeah. This is where, again, the leadership never pays attention to what the majority of the citizens want. And unfortunately, a lot, if not the majority of citizens really kind of sleepwalk through a lot of things when you get down to it. They just, if they listen to the news, it's been mainstream. Now, if you don't know by now that you really can't take the mainstream news at face value, then there might not be any hope left for any any discovery of brain cells in action.
Yeah, this is, again, I don't usually watch the news or anything, but, it's hard not to. It's just so widespread on social media that whenever you pull up even Google or anything, it's just right there. And so you catch these things and you're like, oh my gosh, what is really going on? And I think we had a discussion earlier off air about either being too airy-fairy or being too grounded, and somewhere in the middle is the balance point where we all need to be. I mean, man, once I started getting blissed out because of the energies of meditating, that's where I wanted to be. But it takes you away from living your physical existence here. So, several years ago, I had to realize that, I did decide to come here in physical form. So, how does one balance the groundedness and what some call the woo-woo or the airy-fairy, you know?
Well, being human is very, very messy. It's very difficult. We've come here to express ourselves. We've come here to feel love, and we come from perfect love. But we're not here to practice that. We come from perfect love. So we're here for messy love. We're here for weird love. We are here for crazy love. We are here for all kinds of love. And that looks all kinds of different ways. This is our purpose, and we are from love. I think it's really beautiful, but at times it can be very, very painful, and we have to look at things that we might not want to look at. We need to process things that we might not want to process, and that's our choice. That is our choice. It's like, what are you called to do? What is your soul asking you to do in this moment in time?
Yeah, absolutely. And good to see so many beloved people in the chat room. As we have shared, we've gotten the message that certain leaders are coming in alignment with their higher selves, yet at the same time, it's a battle. It's always a battle in each of us every single day. Now, what you also have is a system that's in place that's very, very, well, the goals of the system are not the goals of most humans. I mean, in fact, they're diametrically opposed to each other. So they're trying to kind of appease the system, I guess, to an extent, without becoming endangered species themselves, and yet try to bring about change where they can. So we're going to have to see. Here you have Trump ways removing 35,000 troops from Germany, but redeploying them to Eastern Europe. Where are they talking about? Are they talking about the Baltic nations, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia? Are they talking about Poland? Where exactly in Eastern Europe are they talking about deploying, and why? Because you not only have this going on, you have basically France looking to possibly take the lead. You have a three-way semi-competition to see who's going to be leading Europe if it's not the UK, because they're not part of the EU anymore, and if it's not the US, staying in NATO and leading the way, who's going to take the lead? And here you have Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk announcing today during a speech to Polish Parliament that efforts are underway to prepare large-scale military training for every adult man in Poland. As a result of the security situation in Europe, further stating the Polish army needs to increase from 200,000 to 500,000. That's more than double, 2.5 times its current size. He also appeared to express support for Poland's development of nuclear weapons, saying to Parliament, Poland must pursue the most advanced capabilities, including nuclear and modern unconventional weapons. Since this is the Polish Prime Minister, I got to speak up about Christoph, because he's called this, and he sees Poland eventually being divided into smaller units at the end of this period. He does see that there's going to be a period of conflict, which he saw there was a pause in summer of, I think he was getting maybe August or summer of 2028, that the world situation, as far as the geopolitical manifestation of a European theater of war, will be at a kind of a stalled place where there's no longer active war, but that there had been war from this particular year now till that point. Let's hope that doesn't develop. Again, timelines are not set in stone, and I think they're changing very rapidly every single day.
Yeah, I think everything's potential, really. I mean, there's so many variables in these current times and the current energies that are coming through right now. I think it might be a little bit of a rough patch for some, but there are things you can do to skirt the tops of the waves, so you're not going up and down and up and down. And meditation is one of those things that I recommend, and the energy healing part of that, it's just amazing to me. Like, over the years, seeing some of these things that get rid of dis-ease, and I'm I'm really sold on meditation. It took me a while. So one of the things I'll say about meditation, I think I said this the other day, but it's worth mentioning for any of the new listeners, is if you have a busy mind like I did, I didn't know that I'd be able to meditate. I'd lay down and I would listen to a guided meditation, and there's so many. You can go on YouTube or some of the other platforms, and they're free. But the key is whenever your brain starts to go somewhere, like, I'm going to mow the grass, and then I have to do the dishes, and then I got to do the laundry. As soon as you recognize that you're off somewhere instead of paying attention, you bring yourself right back to the present moment. And sometimes you have to train the brain. It took me about a week, and no surprise it took that long for me, but I was able to do it. And I had such a busy mind that I was so happy that I was able to, that once you can tune in, then you can slide right into meditation anytime. It takes practice. And at one point I was doing it several times a day, and I'd get stressed out and I would do that, and man, or I would be like having a problem where I didn't have an answer to this problem, and the next thing you know, I go into meditation, I come out almost every time with the answer, and it's like, oh wow, I hadn't seen it from that angle. I can do this.
Yeah, I mean, it's very important we learn to control our thoughts, or our thoughts will control us. That's just the way it goes. And meditation is one of those things that we can all learn. And I know a lot of people are like Joe at first, and they just really cannot sit still. But there's other things you can do. You know, you can focus really hard in your garden. You could focus on something like Qigong or Tai Chi, or just do something. Just get that brain in a place where it's zeroed in on kind of a nothingness. And, you know, give yourself 60 seconds. Try just 60 seconds. You don't have to knock it out in one shot. We just baby steps.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and Chris P's saying, again, meditation is one of the best things we could do in these times. Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. You know, could not agree more. How important is it to keep your spine straight while meditating? I would say pretty important, because you want that easy energy flow. Think of a hose. You know, you kink it, it's harder. Some water still gets through, but it just makes it more difficult. But I would say too, you know, you could do what they call Egyptian style, which is just sitting on a chair, you know, with your feet flat on the ground and your back straight and your knees being bent. That's okay. It all depends on your physical limitations and where you could find that you could zone in. So with me, like over the years, like sitting cross-legged automatically kind of puts me into it, because it's like a positioning trigger. At the same time, laying down in bed, for instance, with a pillow under my legs is really good for eliminating all tension in the body. The only danger is that you might fall asleep. But, you know, again, I always meditate before going to sleep, and I always pour breathe, because that's an immune system booster.
You know, and my knees aren't so good, so it kind of scares me to actually do that cross-legged thing. So you'll catch me probably just sitting on a chair with my feet flat on the floor and my back as straight as I can get it. So realize that you can't do things perfect. All we can do is find out, well, where can I modify and where can I do better? And you just keep doing better.
So Alicia, she says, I struggle so hard with quieting my mind. Then that's perfect to do like a mantra or something. Mm-hmm. So, you know, whether it's a mantra that's a saying that you develop for yourself, there's some traditional ones like, I am not the body, I am not even the mind. And you could just have something like that rolling over in your head. You could look at, again, a candle and just focus in on the candle and try to watch the flame flicker. You can use a Vedic mantra. They're very powerful for shifting our entire perspective and changing our energy body. You can do Qigong, you know, because motion, that's great for also taming a wild mind that won't calm down.
And you can be like Mary D and sit upright with a big yellow 100-pound lab on her lap.
You know, it's funny, my friend Terry, who used to do energy healing on me, I'd get on the Reiki table, and right away I cross my legs, and I'm laying there, and she would go down to the foot of the bed and throw my foot off, like as she was annoyed, like, you know better than this. But it was just like Mike said, it was a comfort thing. It was just like, okay, I'm ready. And next thing, my foot goes flying. I'm like, oh yeah, sorry about that. Yeah. Because you want the energy to flow freely from the crown the whole way down and out the bottom of your feet. And any kind of restriction, yeah, it'll probably still work. But again, if you look into Feng Shui and how energy in the house and how you position things, that's another thing that's quite fascinating if anybody's interested.
Yeah, I mean, it's something where you create your environment so that energy flows freely. I guess my specialty is I can't quite get things quite right. So whether it be my body, my brain. So I just continually keep doing better. I know what the goal is. I have the goal right there. And sometimes, like physically, like I said, my knees, my shoulders, sometimes I can't actually make those moves. And I don't want that to dissuade anybody from trying, because it's important. You just put the intention and think of the time and love you provide for yourself.
Absolutely. So yeah, many different ways, many different ways. So as we go back to the chaos of the world, we have Kash Patel has reportedly arrested 2 active and 1 former U.S. Army soldiers for stealing defense secrets and providing them to our enemies. Yes, I don't know. I don't personally have any enemies when it comes to different nationalities, different states, different religion. I mean, we got to start thinking differently. Our enemies. Because you're born into a country, do you really have to have enemies with somebody that's born into another country? I mean, it sounds so silly to me, honestly. It really, really does. Now, maybe the leadership of this country or other countries have enemies in the leadership but of other countries, but at the same time, they probably all go play golf afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
Again, this goes back to the multidimensional beings that we are. On one dimension, Mike, you're speaking from a higher vibration, which anybody that's at that vibration is in agreement with. Like, yeah, absolutely. Like, what? Why would we even think that way? But we are mixed in with 3D, 4D, and somewhere in there. And some of these lower vibrations, it's like we're still on the same planet. So it's like, okay, how can we influence the masses in a positive way? And the best thing I know is to raise your own vibration by going within, doing your meditation, tuning into, podcasts like this. And, it's a collective group of energy. And the more people that think one thing at one time, it's your general reality. We're raising the vibration. And just by walking in amongst somebody else, just like Cindy uses her tuning forks, you tune to the vibration of somebody else. And if they're higher, you level up. And that's how we can change the world almost overnight.
Right. We bring it home. We bring it to ourselves, because that's the part that makes a difference. We can look outside of ourselves as much as we want, but the real healing for externally comes from within. It's kind of weird that things are that way, but that's the way they work.
Okay, so Paulo says, Mike and Cindy, I would love it if you both initiate a meditation live and everybody does their own meditation style to some music you supply via video for maybe 20 minutes. We could definitely do something like that. We were talking about that, and then Joe was sharing with me that he had the opportunity to be a country star, and he's got the voice for it. And he plays a little guitar. I played a little guitar, so together we'll play a little guitar, and then we'll do some mantras or something. That sounds really, really fun. If we put it out there that I want to go live every Sunday, I think that's something that we want to make a definite habit. So maybe this Sunday we'll put out there that we'll do a meditation, and we'll see. I would love to see more turnout for that than any news flash. That would be really, really very heartening.
That would be helpful when we see people, coming in and making that difference, because I can't tell you how much love from the heart it goes out into the world. It makes a difference. So when we see energy and we see energy flow from ourselves, it has that domino effect. And when you start to realize how powerful your energy really is, then you just start to be a little more mindful of the energy that you send out there. And when you realize how powerful your words are, you become very mindful of what you speak. And when you realize how powerful your body is, then you don't just put yourself anywhere. You start to change. You start to do things differently.
You know, one thing I'll suggest, and if it's all right with Mike and Cindy, towards the end of this broadcast, put it in the chat if you want me to do just a sample couple minute meditation for those that haven't experienced it. And if it's something that you guys would like to hear right now, just for those that haven't and those that just want to feel our energies, because this trifold of energetic beings right now, I can almost guarantee you're going to feel the energy. But it's up to them and it's up to you guys. So put it in the chat if it's something you'd like. Of course, you can't be driving or operating heavy equipment and listen to this.
Right. So, we'll work on, I do think people would absolutely enjoy it with our threefold energy coming together, because we each bring something very unique to the table. And you put that light in a room and you blast it out into the universe, and you guys are accepting and sending that back out from where you're at. We can make a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. So this sounds fun. This definitely sounds fun. This hit me as just unacceptable. I just doubt this. I don't feel any truth in this. So this little live right here, they're saying that Gene Hackman died of heart disease and his wife died 1 week earlier, around February 11th, of hantavirus, per the authorities. According to them, he walked around the house with their bodies still in it, alerting nobody. Perhaps he was, having some sort of dementia going on as well. It just does not ring true. Hantavirus, there's deer mice in New Mexico that, this can carry a very high fatality rate. They say 42%, but we don't get that as being the reality. That's just what we feel.
Yeah, we covered that the other day, and all three of us were like, this is really suspicious. Like, all of a sudden you have two people, human beings and their dog, all dying at the same time. And then one's heart disease, and one, like, now all of a sudden they're coming. I'm like, usually don't work that way. So
yeah, no, I mean, what I saw was something very, very different, but you're going to get from the media what the media wants you to get.
Did you know that Zelensky signed into law in Ukraine a law that allowed them to harvest organs without consent? That's insanity. And then also, when you look at all the soldiers that are dying and think about all the organs that are being harvested, you got to think, well, who is making the money on all those harvesting of organs? It's beyond demonic. It's just, it's repulsive. It's indignant. We don't need any of this structure. It's a relic of a very, very satanic dark age, and it's time for them to, go bye-bye. You know that song? Sha-na-na-na, hey.
Yep, and usually when we point these things out, we're very special, and we tend to get grief, and they take the video down. So let me just say right now, thank you for all of your support, your thumbs up. You guys help keep this going so that they can't completely squash us.
Yay, let's stay positive.
Yay.
Let's like flip the script on all this craziness and just go into a positive way. And unfortunately, we have to look at some of these headlines and like, as soon as it's kind of like the meditation. Once your brain's going in a certain direction, kind of program it to stop and then kind of reset and go, okay, I know where this is bringing me down, so we want to be uplifted and be at a higher state of being rather than a dis-ease.
Definitely. So we have to keep on keeping on.
Yeah, and Cindy knows and Joe knows, this has always been something that's in my mind, because then there's the temptation to just turn towards the spiritual and forget totally about the news. besides the things like deep diving into Tartaria, Atlantis, cryptozoology, aliens, all the hidden history, all that type of stuff. Still focusing on that, but take everything that's geopolitical and news and just say we just ignore it. There's definitely been a desire to do that because it lowers your frequency. At the same time, what we see is that the videos that people respond to the most are those that have the news in it. So, the other videos, they only get, a tiny little viewership, and it doesn't really matter about ad revenue because there really is none. There's so little now. It's been squashed so much that it's really pretty insignificant. So it's not about that. It's really about what you guys want. What do you guys want? How do we best serve you and support you? I've always kind of thought, show what's happening out there in the world, but with our spiritual insights and the idea again on using it as something that we don't want anymore. This is something we don't want to see anymore. We want to see real change, and we don't buy the sales job of change, which is not really what we have seen so far. If you follow what I'm saying.
Have you guys ever seen the movie Monsters Inc.? Anybody that has children probably has. So they go in there and they scare the crap out of the kids in there. They're showing you that some of these higher dimensionals they used to call it loosh in some of the ancient text, and they take that energy. Well, what they found at the end of the movie was instead of scaring the crap out of them, if you made the kids happy, it multiplied by like a gazillion. So it's always better to be in a higher vibration than the lower. I mean, it's all about energy, really.
Yes, absolutely. It's how we respond to it. So instead of being terrified, it's saying, okay, well, we know what they're doing. They're still doing this. They're still doing that. We don't want any of it. Like, here you go. You have a Clean Air Act, and this is in Pennsylvania. We want to end any geoengineering of our skies over Pennsylvania, polluting our land and water. This is not conspiratorial. Well, we should clarify that. The term conspiracy theory means that you're theorizing that somebody's out there conspiring to do something. They're quietly whispering about doing this and that. They don't want you knowing what they're doing. So yeah, that is, we have had a ton of conspiracy, not that it's theory, just conspiracy facts, because they've conspired to do all sorts of things, like, again, overload our soil with aluminum and barium, so it'll make for very, very poor growing conditions. They've done a lot of things like trying to take away any freedoms and rights that we have. That's not a conspiracy theory. It's just a fact. Yes, there has been, conspiratorial natures in the political structure in which they say one thing, they'll label, like a lot of times they'll label bills something. This and this act, Patriot Act. What's patriotic about the Patriot Act? Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. I mean, it goes on and on again. But this is Doug Mastriano posting on his social media that, again, it's not a conspiracy when you could literally see that they've made it law to ban the practice, and it still happens in certain states.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so as I see this, the first question I ask is, why now? We've seen this for the last 15 or 20 years. When we were children, you didn't see this like we do today. I remember looking up, and then there used to be a local weatherman, Joe said it was the key phrase, and because he was always right with the predictions. And nowadays, I mean, you can't even go a day in advance, and it's just, so there's weather modifications. You see these chemtrails going across the sky. I mean, on and on and on. But I wonder why now. Like, there's always an agenda. So I'm just like, either things are, and I want to look at it on the positive, like, hey, finally they're coming around, they're going to do something about it. But on the other hand, I'm sitting there, the cynical side of me is like, what are they up to? Why are they doing that? Are they just trying to point it out to people that are asleep? Or what's the agenda?
Right. I definitely see that it gets people thinking about what is the agenda and why do we do that? I think it's because they have us in a state of fight or flight. They have this brain going in a direction that makes us very controllable. So if we feel ourselves in fear, what do humans do? Humans naturally look for the safe place, and then they also provide the so-called safe place. So you have to pay attention to all the things, and then if you run across something, is this something that's worth your time or is it not worth your time? We all have to decide for ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of places they have shifted to doing a lot of their sky writing at night when people can't see them. It's just par for the course. Again, those beings that think they're far above the law, but again, things are going to change. They have to change, and we need to demand that change. We have to be very, very vocal about it. They're obviously blocking out the sun. There's many different reasons why they do all this. It's not just one reason. It's not just weather control. It's not just that barium and aluminum combined can definitely bring on some cognitive problems later in life. It is also about absolutely stopping the sun's rays from reaching us. And this is also why, again, they gave us the whole idea that you gotta lather on sunscreen before you go out, because you don't want your DNA to be upgraded now, do you?
One thing that I learned during my healing journey is if you cannot safely, like literally safely, put it in your mouth and eat it and swallow it, you don't want it on your skin because it has to go through all the same processes. Your body still has to deal with it. Very important to keep that in mind.
Yeah, so I go back to, years ago when I was looking at, of course, you look up and you see this the spray going across, and then if you just sat there and watched it dissipate, it turns into cloud cover. But at one point, years ago, it was always around the sun. It was like you just look towards the sun and you just turn an about face and it's all clear behind you and it's blue skies and you look back towards the sun. So to me, yes, I agree. I think that there's a multitude of reasons why this is being done. I think that on a higher level, the energies that come from the sun, to me, it seems like they're being blocked so we don't get our upgrades that naturally occur and we talk about the Kali Yuga and all the other 26,000 year cycles and all this other stuff. And to me, I think that is, part of what they're doing, their agenda.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So we've talked about these before. There's these metallic spheres that have been discovered in many places around the world. Some of them literally date back, they say, 3 billion years. 3 billion years? What is the real history? Well, again, what we've gotten from the guides is that it is true that Earth is created from a remnant of Tiamat. Tiamat was a much larger planet. Now, Tiamat many times the size of Earth, but yet what we are told is the size of the Earth is only about 25% of the real size of the Earth. So then when you put to that with the fact that Tiamat may have been 4 or more times the size of the current Earth, that's huge. And then when you start thinking about mountains that literally look like sleeping giants, well...
Well,
yeah, they might be giants. That's the bottom line. And, really advanced life forms have been on this planet. And not even in the too distant past. Because, again, this Kali Yuga, in my mind, I think we've been in a very, very dark place for probably about 5,000 to 6,000 years. That's my best guesstimate. Again, I do think the Younger Dryas extinction was an act of war, And I think, again, they'll place that back to 12,000 years ago, 11,700, 12,500, somewhere in that range. I think that particular event was closer in reality to the time period that we see all the Sumerian city-states popping up, around 4,000 BC, 3,000 BC. So, I think that's closer to the time that we could say that we really fell into darkness because, again, we know humans were in, say, New Mexico 30,000 years ago. And we know there were many different forms of giants. Many extraterrestrials came and went all the time. It was no big deal. And even now, we are able to see more of the visible light spectrum than we could have just a few years ago. These are the changes of leaving a Kali Yuga, going into Dwapara, going into a Bronze Age. Everything changes. Again, the very ether from which the elements spring change. So again, spontaneous healings, can be the norm without waiting and holding our breath for med beds. I really think, again, we don't have to hold out and hope that AI is going to save us or technology is going to save us. No, nature is really the answer.
Well, vibration, frequency. We have the ability to heal ourselves when we do certain things, when we have certain processes, and when we are able to put the clean food, the clean water into our bodies can self-heal. And that's very, very frightening for the control system if we are able to not only teach people how to heal, but, get them inspired to heal themselves. That's a problem for the system. So our vibration is so very critical. I don't think we need the med beds either. I've seen vibration do absolutely miraculous things. And we've talked about lots of times on this show, the things Mike has been able to do and the things that we've been able to do together to help people. If, they're in alignment for it and they're doing the things, we can do it. There's no question in my mind. The med beds, I just really wonder about those. It just seems like they're always slightly out of reach, and I don't know if they're making bigger promises than what they can keep.
I think it's a timeline. It's just like everything else that you saw in Star Trek over the years. Eventually, they show us in plain sight everything that's already existing in their technology that they hide from us. It's like 100 years or more in advance than what they release. And like the flip phones or the iPad, the tablets, on and on. And they showed you the med beds. And, it's just, to me, we were talking earlier, Mike was covering something, and it talked about the technology, how the smaller drones can communicate with the bigger ones. And it reminded me of Iron Man, the Age of Ultron, and how all of a sudden, it's almost like, I used to think of like humans becoming like the hive mind, that we could communicate telepathically. I hadn't considered like the robots doing that in this era until you were doing that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that they show us in plain sight. Just like Ultron, they'd kill one, but because they were interlinked, they kept coming. It was just widespread, the conscious awareness of that being, Ultron. And they'd kill one, and there like 100 more would come. And so I'm sitting there like, wow, they're literally showing us with the nanotechnology of Iron Man how he used to have just a basic suit that he'd climb into, and then all of a sudden he has a watch. He hits a button, and next thing the nanotechnology goes all over him. And that is exactly what you were covering earlier on that, because they were talking about nanotechnology that can conform and change. Right. And I'm sitting there like, there it is, right in front of us. Yeah, we already have it.
It's that mimicry that they try to do with the 3D. It's like the AI wants a copy. It wants to copy everything that can be done in the 3D. And we're always talking about how important it is to be organic. I do believe that the AI, the nanobots, these things are kind of muddy our energy body, and when they're inside of us, makes it very difficult for us to go to a higher vibration where we want to ascend. So I feel we really have to make the decision now. It's like, what do we want? And then just hold steady as you can when you're going down that path. And, you know, we have the option of, well, go with AI, or you could go organic. And there's certain lines that I just will not cross no matter what. Absolutely no matter what. But that's me. I've decided that for myself. I think if we make the decision now, it won't be so difficult. Like if the decision comes on down the line, we already know what we're going to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So Susa says, is it normal to hear a ringing in meditation? Yeah, I would say so. Absolutely. I do. You know, when things are dead silent, yeah, there is absolutely a ringing. Yeah, exactly. So Joe says, Dr. Joe says, sound is light. You know, I'd say the meditation was the most different in this house that we were renting, a cabin in New Mexico, which was made of like 18-inch thick walls of earth, you know, stone. And I'm trying to think, did we hear anything there? I mean, it was the deadest silence that I've ever experienced, and the meditation was amazing there. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was off the hook there.
You know, I have this concern. Sound is light. Light and sound make form. And in my right ear, I have no hearing, but it rings so loud. So it's really confusing. I guess I'm only getting part of the equation there.
Oh, well, you know, in my experience over the years of doing this, the energy healing and the hypnotherapy, when you're getting, some people call them downloads, but really you're tuning in. You're like a tuning fork. You know, we're receivers and transmitters. And so as you raise your vibration in meditation and you're asking for assistance, which many people do, you know, asking angels, masters, guides, whoever you believe in, it's important to protect yourself. And whether you use crystals or a candle or visualizing that white light for protection. And as you raise in vibration, you're tuning into, again, we perceive sound as sound through the ears. It's really light, and because it's all about the wave. And again, we have our 5 senses that we use, and then some of us have 6, and maybe some of us has more than that. But yeah, I've experienced so much of that, and even just in my day-to-day life, while I'm just sitting there hanging out, and all of a sudden I'll get a hum in one of my ears, and I'll just kind of pay attention and just allow that. I see that as information that flows through me. It may have been something I asked for earlier in the day, and then all of a sudden I have this aha moment, this stream of, or packet of energy or information, if you will. To me, it's just that.
You know, and I really struggled with myself because I am pretty much deaf in this right ear. So have you guys you've heard of binaural beats, and they say, oh, it's always better if you put your earplugs in. And I never really got a clear answer, but I figured it out for myself. I would ask, well, do I have to have hearing to benefit from the binaural beats? But Joe said it. It's the vibration. If you're getting the vibration, you're getting the benefit. So anybody else who's struggling with that question, I hope I answered it for you. It took me years to figure it out myself, but still a lot of professionals that do the sound healing, they don't know. They're just not sure.
That's what the mantras and the power of the mantras, because you know the resonance it penetrates the cells, and so. And at the same time, when I'm doing mantras, and I could have Cindy look, and I have asked her, as I switch mantras, I'll ask her, okay, what are you seeing now? And invariably, the colors change. You know, like if I'm doing Ganesh, there might be a lot of red because it's all about the root chakra. And then when we switch to a different mantra, the dominant color can change.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the mantras have been so helpful. Today I was just learning a new one. And I mean, I do some. I have a handful that I do. But it is good to switch it up because those vibrations and those energies that are moving up through your body can actually remove blocks. And there's being blocks removed. It's like you can just feel it. It's like, oh my gosh, I got a little release there.
Not only that, when you're laying there in a quiet place, all of a sudden you're having this involuntary action where your arm will fly up or your foot will go and you'll be like, what the heck? But once you get into this, you realize it was a release. You had a block somewhere and you're asking for the energies to flow freely through you from the high sources of creation. They come through and all of a sudden, whoop, there it goes. And you're like, oh, wow, okay. And then you feel so much better. The other thing that I did when I was working really like feverishly, I'd get up at 5, I'd go to the gym, then I'd go and do rounds on some patients, and then I'd go to my urgent care center. And after work, I used to work construction until about 11 o'clock at night. And every day was the same thing. But what got me through that busy day is meditation. I looked forward at lunchtime. I'd hurry up and eat the salad or whatever I had with me at the time. I couldn't wait to get to the meditation. And it was only like 20 minutes, but it was almost like I slept for 8 hours and I was hard at it. Let's go. And, it's that important.
Mm-hmm. It's very important to get the energy and get the vibration and get yourself squared away.
Yeah, so Talisha was saying it's normal to get messages at night mostly. I got most of mine during the day, honestly, when I would kind of zone out or, again, like Joe said, you're sitting there and then you get a little time to do meditation. Or if I felt that I was all of a sudden getting kind of drowsy and I just had this need to close my eyes, invariably I would feel something up in the crown chakra. Over time, I realized this is how the guides communicate. And I would get like flashes, like I would see flashes of faces or of situations come through my mind very, very arbitrarily, but these were the messages that were being given to me.
Mm-hmm. We all get them in different ways. We all get them in different forms, but it is about exploring yourself and trying to figure out how do you get them.
Yeah, I mean, I could tell you story after story about the various clients or patients that came through the door that had these experiences. One of which, my friend Terry, I hired her to be my hypnotherapist and energy healer, and I saw a patient that had a kidney stone, and she was going to have to go through lithotripsy, and she came in to see if there's anything else that she could do. And I said, well, you could go over to my colleague Terry and see what she could do for you. And I didn't tell Terry what was going on. I just referred her over, and I told her, I said, don't tell Terry, let her figure it out herself. And so the lady goes over and she's talking to Terry, and she lays down on the Reiki table, and Terry scans her. And when she got to her kidney area, Terry felt what the woman was experiencing. She could feel the pain in her lower back, and she goes, oh, wow, do you have like a kidney problem? And the lady shockingly looked up and says, yeah, how did you know? And she says, yeah, because I can feel it. And as she worked on her, she pushed out that block energetically. And the next thing you know, the lady comes over to me, because it was on the other side of my building, and I was in between patients, and she came over and thanked me and was like, thank you so much. I said, do you feel better? She goes, it's completely gone. I have no pain. And so I've seen these things over and over in my family practice, urgent care centers, because I offered the other thing. So if you're not open to it, of course you're not going to see it. But because I offered that, I mean, it was a blessing to me that I got to experience these things.
Mm-hmm. It has. It's been a blessing for all of us who are in this line of work to experience these.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the time of the white buffalo. So many white buffaloes have been born, and we are definitely in a new age, a new era has dawned. And so, yeah, I see y'all are ready for this. It's wonderful. The more we were not talking news, the more everything was lightening up. And so Sunday we'll do a meditation, and we'll look forward to more in the future as well. We couldn't do it without you guys' support. Thank you everybody for showing up tonight. And we'll have a spirituality centered, not that this was, but we'll keep all the vibes high on Sunday unless they do something absolutely crazy that we just have to talk about. But again, we'll focus on it. Cindy's going to give us a ding or two.
Mm-hmm. Right. I want everybody to feel the energy of all three of us. So we'll do the meditation, I think, on Sunday, and it'll be a lot of fun. But I want you guys to feel the power and the energy that these guys can run. And I want you guys know the rules. Happy thoughts, okay? Happy thoughts, manifesting thoughts. We're getting there. Here we go.
So I hope you guys felt that. And Crispy said Sunday at what time? I would say, why don't we shoot for Sunday at like 4 or 5? And does that sound okay? Okay. I hope that's a good time for you guys. Again, we're on Central Time. So Eastern Time would be 5 or 6. But we'll send out a notification ahead of time. Much love, much appreciation, everybody. We couldn't do it without you guys. Source blessing. Namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste.